This is Gerry, the founder of the Bufori Motor Car Company. He's been building cars for more than 3 decades. Today, his passion continues as his factory in Malaysia produces some of the most outstanding and unique handcrafted vehicles like the Bufori Geneva. Let's find out in this episode on how he turned his passion into a business. Hi, I'm Thomas Yap.
And I'm Gerry Khouri.
And this is Wheel Talk. In Wheel Talk, we invite special guests to share real-life stories while we drive and talk. To get behind the wheels and find out what drives them, their life lessons and inspiration. My goal is to find golden nuggets of wisdom so it may inspire us to live life to the fullest. This is Wheel Talk, and let's keep it 100. Hey guys, so today we have here Gerry, founder of Bufori, and really excited to have you on the show. Thank you for having me on the show, Gerry. Thank you for being on the show, Gerry. Usually I'm on that seat, so.
Pleasure's mine.
Yeah, so Gerry is the founder of this brand called Bufori, and my God, the designs are out of the world. Well, so Gerry, so welcome to Wheel Talk.
Thank you.
Wheel Talk is a show where we bring inspiring individuals such as yourself and share your life story. So, why don't we dive right in? So, how did you start at Bufori? You know?
It's just, I think I've mentioned this story many times before, but in a nutshell, it just started off as a crazy idea that I had. I'm sick of building old cars and fixing old cars, and I just felt that I can do better than that, and I decided to build my own car. So I built a garage at the back of the house. I did all the right things, and along the way, people that were my closest friends, my closest buddies, and people I grew up with all thought I was crazy.
Yeah, I would think you're crazy. If somebody said, "Hey, I'm going to start an automotive brand. I'm going to build my own car," I think it must be nuts.
Well, it was never meant to be a business. It was just meant to be a one-off car. And literally, as I started building this car, by the time it was finished, I knew where I was heading. I knew it was going to be successful. I knew it was going to work. And when the car was complete, everybody wanted to be a part of it. I actually kept the car away from my brothers even. And nobody saw the car until it was completely finished.
And this is when it's Australia?
Back in Sydney in 1987.
Yeah.
I started in 1986, literally.
How old were you then?
20 years old, 21 years old.
So you built a car ground up?
Yeah, literally.
Wow.
And then when the car was complete, everybody wanted to be a friend again, everybody wanted one, everyone wanted to be a part of it. And people were borrowing the car and paying me for use of the car, for weddings, for graduations, for divorces.
Divorces?
And, yeah, for all kinds of events. Let's celebrate a divorce. So it was crazy because it was just, this car had attracted a level of attention. Cars back in the mid to late 80s and early 90s, you wouldn't have known what the hell they were, if it wasn't for the badge. And the Bufori, the first generation of Bufori cars was very, very inspiring, and it was refreshing to see something that was just so outstanding. I'm not suggesting for a second that I make the most beautiful cars in the world, that's not what I'm saying. But they're very, very different. They're not for everybody. They're very, very different, very, very unique. And they exude this design that actually just attracts everybody. And these days when people see a Bufori, it's a Bufori, but when they see an old classic car, quite often people refer to it as a Bufori.
But when classic, you mean like 1920s?
Yeah, the long flowing lines, cars from the 1930s.
Long hood.
Long hood, running boards. It's all inspired, so, and then, as we evolved from that, that one particular car, we built the second car and a third car for my 2 brothers, and each time I build them, somebody would buy them. And I'd build another 2 cars and another 2 cars and another 2 cars, and 16 years later, and we had, I think 70 people before we closed the factory in Australia and came to Malaysia.
But tell you what, Gerry, the Bufori has, for me, there's one word for it, more than unique. It's unforgettable.
It's unforgettable.
You can't forget.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't unsee a Bufori, and I think that's very unique.
As one of our customers says, you only have to see one Bufori to remember one.
Yeah.
I just got goosebumps. Look
at that. Oh yeah.
Just hearing you say it,
Literally got it.
But it's freaky. Unless you actually experience it in real life, it's very difficult to comprehend. Of course, I'm proud of what I'm doing, but I'm proud of what all our staff are doing, because I don't make cars in my own hands anymore. But the boys in the factory doing all the work, and they deserve the credit.
Yeah.
But to be able to see the results and the reward, the fruits of our labour, is what's most satisfying. And just recently, I drove one down to Singapore, and while we're down there, Singapore's got some exotic cars and a lot of wealth in Singapore, and we stop at a traffic light, and this Rolls-Royce Phantom stops at the lights alongside us, and he was so mesmerised in this car, he actually got out of the car, came over to me just to ask me what it was. And he was like, he was gobsmacked. He was lost for words, this guy, and he couldn't care about the traffic jam that he created.
In Singapore?
In Singapore. and he was just, over the moon over this car. He'd never seen anything like it.
As much as people love the car, right?
Yeah.
Were there people who were like so against how your car looked like when they came in and gave unsolicited advice?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, a day doesn't go by when people don't come and tell you that you should design something that looks like this or look like that, or don't do this. And I just had one yesterday who's telling me that I should have bought the CS. Don't do it. Drop the CS, come up with something else, and stay true to the Bufori identity. But I'm not them. I have my own vision, I have my own ideals, and I know what the market wants. And firstly, I wouldn't have designed the CS if people didn't want it. So, and the same with the Geneva, the same with the La Jolla. When we came up with the La Jolla, people thought it was the biggest mistake we ever made. And to be fair, that's got to be the best car we've ever made. Okay, the most desirable Bufori ever made is the La Jolla.
I actually love, of all your cars, the La Jolla is my number one.
Then
the Mark 1.
The Mark 1s are still popular. But the La Jolla is just so perfectly proportioned. It looks good. It's refined. It's got all the attention to detail, and the devil's in the detail. So the La Jolla is just packed with attention to detail. Everything about that car is just so right.
Because some people, they don't want to start something because they're afraid of like criticism. They're afraid of people saying something about what they do, being discouraged. Did you ever had any of that? Or?
Absolutely. When I made that first car, everybody thought I was crazy. Everyone thought, who the hell do you think you are? But if I'm going to listen to everyone's comments to make a decision as to what I should do in life and shouldn't do, then I'm not going to succeed in anything. And I'll always be a follower. But I thought, enough is enough. I know what I can do. I know what my own competence levels are. I know where my intelligence lies. And I don't need someone to tell me what I can and can't do. That's why you've got to leave people alone. The greatest thing you can do for people you love is to cut them some slack, give them enough slack to go out and find themselves. And that's all I did. I just found myself. And because I was so passionate about it, and so determined, I didn't have the resources of the Henry Fords and the General Motors of the world, and you want to achieve the same objectives, and you've got to use your passion to be able to achieve those same objectives. When you're so passionate, you research, you ask, you practice, you do things on the bench, and you make mistakes many times, and you put it to test, and you come back and you try again and you try again. It's as the saying goes, once you cut yourself or you burn your hand on a fire, you'll never do it again. And you learn from these mistakes in what you do. And because I've got to do it on my own, and I don't have the resources behind me to go out and get a professional to design my suspension for me or design a chassis, you've got to do things on your own, and you learn the hard way. And these are experiences that money can't buy and nobody can take away from you.
When did you felt Bufori had like a huge takeoff? Because every brand or every business is always...
It started right from the very beginning, honestly it did. Seeing a Bufori literally back in the days when I first started, that was a major statement. It was what it did to people, the attention it used to grab. There was one guy that made a comment, he said it was like running naked down Pitt Street. It created that much attention. And it's not hard, it's not that difficult to comprehend that. So I knew from the very beginning that we were sitting on success. All we had to do is keep it going and stay true to it and not lose focus. It was hard, it was very difficult to keep it all together. It hasn't all been smooth sailing for us. Passion is the most important ingredient to the success of something like this. This is not a textbook business. See, this is
Yeah.
not for the faint-hearted. Okay, so and if you're going to look for excuses, you're going to find 1,000,001 excuses
yeah.
why you failed, and that's what everyone does. It's
Yeah.
always because of, you know, if it's not this, it's something else.
Yeah.
You know, I too could have given up a long time ago,
Yeah.
but I've never given up on this company.
Yeah.
You know, it's very difficult for me to give up. You know, it's my blood, sweat, and tears. My heart's in this. The other thing is, I don't treat this as a job.
Uh-huh.
You know, as much as it is a job, it's
Yeah.
certainly not a hobby.
Yeah.
What started off as a hobby became a business, and
Yeah.
it's a career. But it's not a hobby anymore. You know, this is really a job. But the best thing for me is I make this job so enjoyable that it's like every morning I'm going to my playground. I go to work to have fun.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'd rather than sit at home and watch TV, I can't wait to get into the factory.
Ah.
And I love Saturdays.
Ah.
Saturday mornings, I hardly get into my office. I'm on the factory floor,
Uh-huh.
and I just stay there the whole day.
Ah.
You know, I'm a hands-on guy. I'll still get down there and work with the boys, and you know, I'm never afraid of dirtying my hands and doing all that sort of thing. So I'll do whatever I have to do to, you know, make them happy. When I get involved, 9 out of 10 times, the boys love it because it's fun. You know, they can see the boss is getting involved, and he gets his hands dirty, and he treats himself just like one of us.
Uh-huh.
And you know, the respect that you get from that. You know, what I say to all my staff is, don't ever do what I say, do as I do, not do as I say. But
I think I get what you mean about being a high level of precision, no room for failure, because you're working your carbon Kevlar body, right?
well, the carbon Kevlar is one part of it. It's a very, very important part of it, no doubt.
Yeah.
But everything you do, you know, there's this thing called collective tolerance.
Ah.
So when you start making mistakes, or when you start, you know, slacking off a little bit, 1 millimeter here, 1 millimeter there equals 2 millimeters of tolerance. So you can't afford to have those sort of tolerances.
So it compounds, right? It
It compounds, yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So at the end of the day, and you've got 1,000 items that go into a car, and if you're going to have a 1 millimeter tolerance in every single one of them, you're going to be 1,000 millimeters out, so to speak, at the end of the day.
Oh man.
So it doesn't work. So you've got to be strict, okay? So a lot of people come in. You know, we go through a lot of staff. Out of the 100 people we've got, 80% of our staff has been with us for more than 25 years. It's the newcomers that don't last. And it's the newcomers who come in, and when they work for us, they don't last very long, and they always leave because they say, our expectations or our standards are unachievable. Well, that's nonsense, such a bullshit.
It's been done so many years.
Yeah, well, the fact of the matter is they're wrongly trained. And we always try to talk to institutions. We always try to get across to all the colleges and all the universities to teach them things that we need. And my business is not much different to a normal service center. All right, so we're not a mass production car company where one man does one job all day, every day, nothing else. In Bufori, one man will do 100 jobs today, and tomorrow he'll do a different 100 jobs. So you never do the same thing twice. So we're very similar to the industry, the service industry, the automotive service, car service industry. You know, a motor car today is a lethal weapon in the wrong person's hands.
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
cars today have become so technical and so dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, you've got so much electrification in cars. These days you steer by wire, you're driving by wire.
Yeah.
Of course there's a mechanical linkage.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, if your power goes down, you can't turn that steering wheel,
Yeah.
no matter how strong you are.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to be able to stop a car these days if you don't have any power assistance.
Yeah.
So you can't allow these cars to get into the wrong people's hands if they're not well trained. And a lot of the high-end dealerships in Malaysia, for example, they train their mechanics brand-centric mechanics. So you learn to become a mechanic for a particular brand of car rather than for an industry mechanic.
Yeah.
So what we really want in this country is industry-centric mechanics and tradesmen. And it's not just mechanics. You know, cars are made up of more than just parts to make a car move. You've got the interior trim parts, you've got leather, you've got all the touches that you feel and see and experience, you know, so you need more than just mechanics these days. The guys who fit the interior, removing a dashboard or removing the air conditioning is not a mechanic's job.
Yeah.
That should be a fitter's job.
Yeah.
You know, and these days we don't have those sort of trades in this country.
Mhm.
So you depend on a mechanic to do anything to do with your car.
Yeah.
You depend on a mechanic to do it. So you don't have the specialty industries in the automotive industry in Malaysia, and that's what we need. So we need people to become expert mechanics, expert auto electricians, expert upholsterers, expert fitters. You know, you need an expert for door mechanisms and door modules.
Yeah.
You know, so they're the fitters who do that sort of thing. So these are the sorts of things that we're lacking in the industry in Malaysia today. Part of the automotive industry in Malaysia isn't just making cars safer, isn't just teaching people to become better mechanics. It's about the roads just as much. It's also about making sure the cars are actually maintained safely.
Yes, that's a big one.
And this is a
That's
big thing for me.
Yeah.
So how many vehicles do you drive alongside? You're sitting in a traffic jam and you look at the car or a four-wheel drive or a bus or a taxi alongside you, and you notice that their tires are bald. You see the steel belt coming out of the tire. You drive along and you see a car with its wheel hopping. You know, and there's so many things. Headlights that are
Should be
shining
illegal.
up. You know, so who's doing anything about this? You know, it's almost like we've got to close an eye. You know, people are doing it tough. You know, they can't afford to fix their cars. You know, granted, I accept that.
Yeah.
But I think
people's lives.
there's more to reducing the speed limit for road safety when you've got all of these other problems that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
So right now in Malaysia, and no offense to any workshop owners, okay, I'm here, I'm in the same situation as all of you.
Yeah.
So please don't take offense to what my comments are. My comments are meant to be constructive, not criticism. But the automotive industry as a whole needs a revamp. Okay, and what it needs is we need to have this. I'm going to call it the Malaysian Motor Traders Association. Okay, and the Malaysian Motor Traders Association, in my opinion, should be a non-profit organisation. It's not there to make money from anybody. It's there to basically to be the policeman of the automotive industry. And the objective is to make sure that there's ethics in everything that is done. Whether it's in maintaining roads, whether it's in maintaining vehicles, public vehicles, passenger vehicles, commercial vehicles, industrial vehicles. Whether it's selling spare parts for motor cars, whether it's selling used parts for motor cars, whether it's for service centres or whatever, accessories. The Motor Traders Association is the one that is going to monitor and manage and police that everything is done with ethics. Every single workshop in Malaysia needs to be managed by somebody who is responsible, someone who's accountable for everything that gets done. And those workshop owners or those workshop accountable people have got to be licensed. So how would the Motor Traders Association license somebody to be a workshop manager? Just because you've got business acumen doesn't mean you're qualified to be responsible for what happens in that workshop. You need to be a technically savvy person, and that means they need to license you. And when you've got this license, and this goes back, this is something that should have happened in Malaysia 20 years ago when it was a developing country. Malaysia should have been licensing all its tradesmen, not just in the automotive industry, but even in the construction industry. You know, if you go to developed countries, to work on a building site, for example, you have to be a licensed bricklayer, a licensed carpenter, a licensed plumber, a licensed whatever. You know, so in the automotive industry in Australia, you have to be a licensed tyre fitter, you have to be a licensed mechanic, you have to be a licensed auto electrician.
I like the word you said. It's a tradesman. It's not.
He's a tradesman. He's not a worker.
Yeah, not a worker.
Okay? So, and a tradesman is licensed, and when they're licensed, they've been taught not in a classroom for 2 years or 3 years, like they do in Malaysia. They've been put through what they call apprenticeship programs, and apprenticeship programs in Australia are totally, in Europe and US, are very, very different to the apprenticeship programs in Malaysia. I came from an apprenticeship program, so I know how they work and I know how successful they are. So an apprenticeship program in these developed countries put you to work 5 days a week, and you go to school for 1 day a week. And don't forget, the people who become tradesmen are not always academics. You know, they're not going to sit in a classroom and listen to a lecturer, and they're going to absorb 99% of what he says. they're going to see things and understand how they work. They're going to touch things and understand how they work, but they're not going to hear it and understand how it works. So these guys work and they learn by doing things and experiencing them by practice, not by visual.
It's obvious that you are purveyor of a certain taste of cars. Like you're very unique in your car design taste. Lately, I have a car that I'm really considering that I want to get. It's a car that I might risk losing another car that I love for a car that I want to try.
Wow.
It's the ALPINE A110.
Wow.
What do you think about that car?
Wow. Well, the Alpine is a wow factor for me. You know, that's a blast from the past. You know, they brought back its history, returned. You know, it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's spectacular. It's the technology that's in that car. The
4 double wishbones.
Yeah, not just the double wishbones, but all the driver aids and things like that is one thing. You know, the composites that they've used, just the whole package, even the styling of the car. I think they've just done a remarkable job of bringing back, you know, the past, the awesome era of Alpine when it was at its best. Yeah, and they've done a great job of that.
The thing is, none of that are registered in Malaysia. There's one in Langkawi, but no one actually paid the duty to get the car out here.
Yeah,
yet.
I think I did see one once in Malaysia.
Yeah,
It's
only one, but it's in Langkawi.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it gets the occasional 90 days out here in the peninsula.
Okay. I have seen the car.
Yeah.
And it hit me like a ton of bricks, you know.
Really?
What an impact it made.
How about that versus the Alfa Romeo 4C?
Well, the 4C doesn't do much for me, to be honest. You
Really?
know? No, it doesn't.
I think
it's a gorgeous car,
Yeah.
but it just, I don't know, it lacks refinement, that car. I look at the carbon work on that, it doesn't excite me, not at all. But it's a beautiful car, don't get me wrong, but it's just not for me. But if you talk about the new Alfa Romeos, the Giuliettas and all of the new Alfa Romeos, I think they're absolutely gorgeous.
With the exception of the SUVs.
With the exception of the SUVs. This SUV thing is coming back and biting everyone. It's going to bite us, yeah. It's just a matter of time. But, you know, the new Alfa Romeos, aside from the SUVs, I tell you what, I think they're absolutely stunning. They're absolutely gorgeous. They've done a great job. They've remained true to that Italian craftsmanship. You know, that little detail. I have a Maserati, and if you look at the detail that goes in a Maserati, the Italians have just done a brilliant job. You know, and they lost it for a long time. If you look at the Maseratis up until recently, Maseratis lacked all the refinement. They were nothing but a problematic car. But today, the Maseratis are a brilliant motor car. Same with the Alfa Romeos. You know, they share the same platform. But that Italian craftsmanship has come back to life, you know, and that's what we're all missing. You know, and I've been trying to do that in a Bufori for a long time. The Italian standard of craftsmanship in Malaysia, building the best handmade stuff that you can possibly make, with the best quality manpower that's available to you. You know, I know how hard that is.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this session. I learned so much about your passion that goes beyond just automotive, but safety, and about the whole community of automotive industry. I think that's really cool for sharing. Also your backstory. Just one last thing I want to, just quick fire one to the audience. If somebody is watching this right now and they have, you know, they're doing something they're not passionate about, and they know, what are the the three moves they have to do right now? If they're listening to this, they say, I'm doing something I'm passionate about, I want to pursue my passion, what will be your 3 things?
Be true to yourself, first of all. You know, be honest with yourself. It's all very good to dream, and it's all very well to dream, and I always tell people to follow their dreams, but you've got to be honest with yourself. Can your dream be really achievable? You've got to have confidence in your own competence first. Believe in yourself, and if you don't have that competence, doesn't mean you won't have it. Go out and find a way to acquire that competence. Read more, study more, practice more, dirty your hands and make mistakes. It's okay. But every time you fail, get up and try again and again and again.
Thank you so much, Gerry, for being on the show. I really enjoyed that was really cool advice over there. Right, so if you enjoyed that, please help me hit the like button. And you know, if you want to find out more about Bufori, get onto the website. I'll put the link in the description below. All the socials will be there as well. And let me know if you have any message you want to send to Gerry, you just put it in the comments below, and then I'll let Gerry know. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Love you guys, and keep it 100%. And we're gonna head off right now, right? Thank you,
Awesome.
Gerry.
Cheers.
Right, cheers.
See ya.
All right, bye.